Bosnian genocide, which occurred during the Bosnian War from 1992 to 1995, stands as one of the most tragic and brutal episodes in recent European history. The Bosnian genocide of 1992 saw the deaths of 8,000 people and the displacement of 1.2 million Bosnians. The genocide was characterized by premeditated systematic ethnic cleansing and nationwide atrocities, mainly executed by Bosnian Serbian forces. On July 25, 1991, Croatia declared its independence from Yugoslavia and became an independent state. This was vastly opposed by Serbia, and Serbian leadership, based on the nationalist-based idea of Greater Serbia, meant that Croatian independence was deepening their injury. The concept Greater Serbia tried to unify all Serbs within one country, which meant extending territories at the expense of neighbouring ethnic groups. The Bosnian genocide, which mostly took the lives of Bosnian Muslims or Bosniaks during the Bosnian War 1992 to 1995, has proceeded in several stages that closely correspond with the 10 stages of genocide. The population was categorized along ethnic lines: Serbs, Croats, and Bosniaks. This shows signs of classification being one of the 10 stages of genocide. Nationalist propaganda dwelt on these differences, this preparing for conditions for conflict. That which had taken into place in this genocide was a mixture of the increasing ethnic nationalism, particularly with the Greater Serbia ideology, and the political struggle for power after the dissolution of Yugoslavia, Serbian leadership under Ratko Mladic. These events evolved into a genocide in Bosnia through the radical acceleration of extremely violent acts against Bosniaks and other non-Serb populations. It started in early 1990 at the height of Slobodan Milosevic's power and rising Serbian nationalism. Ethnic tensions were already soaring high due to the dissolution of Yugoslavia. Immediately after the declaration of the independence of Bosnia and Herzegovina in March 1992, the international response was at first adequate, poorly protected UN-safe areas, and peacekeeping efforts not very successful. The genocide reached its peak with the Srebrenica massacre in July 1995, where over 8,000 Bosniak men and boys were executed, which then led to stronger international intervention. As shown in Source A, the General Framework Agreement for Peace in Bosnia and Herzegovina, December 14, 1995, NATO bombings in August and September 1995 finally weakened Bosnian Serb forces enough to bring about the Dayton Accords in November 1995.
Bosnia, Croatia, and Serbia have reached a peace agreement to end the war in Bosnia, to end the worst conflict in Europe since World War II. After nearly 4 years of 250,000 people killed, 2 million refugees, atrocities that have appalled people all over the world, the people of Bosnia finally have a chance to turn from the horror of war to the promise of peace.
A great deal of work took place after the war finding those responsible and rebuilding. Short-term impacts include the genocide in Bosnia evolved out of degrees of escalation of violence, framed by Serbian nationalism and the political upheaval that the breakup of Yugoslavia had opened. Propaganda and media manipulation dehumanized Bosniaks and Croats as mass killings, forced displacements, and the destruction of homes and cultural sites. The international community's response was initially inadequate. The violence would continue unabated and culminate in the Srebrenica massacre in July 1995, in which over 8,000 Bosniak men and boys were executed. This event was so horrible that stronger international interference began, and NATO airstrikes were involved, which brought about the Dayton Accords in December 1995, had ended the war about immediately after the declaration of independence of Bosnia and Herzegovina in March 1992, as seen in Source B, titled The Fall of Yugoslavia, The Third Balkan War Day 1992, published revised editions in 1996 and 2001 and the author Misha Glenny type. Book value, which very well researched expert analysis of the causes and progression of the Yugoslav wars, including the genocide in Bosnia. A clear historical, political, and social background is provided. It is accessible and compelling, hence complex events, and presented in a comprehensible way. The limitations include that it involves the interpretations and hence possible biases on the part of the author. Long-term impacts. The long-term consequences of the Bosnian genocide, which have characterized this period, include deep cleansing and political instability within Bosnia. As a result of the convoluted form of government and political structure established by the Dayton Accords, high unemployment and slow growth have remained in the economy, while demographic changes have made up some areas more homogeneous ethnically. The psychological trauma continues for the survivors from the atrocities of the genocide. The genocide contributed to the development of
the peace deal ended the bloodiest conflict in Europe since the Second World War, but it didn't kickstart the process of reconciliation or renew the ethnic cohabitation enjoyed in pre-war Bosnia.
Had the Dayton Agreement been implemented, we would have had a much better situation today. What is being implemented is still genocide here, because there is a status quo.